actually indeed live.
We'll just keep saying things.
We need to have some info from anybody who's watching to let us know. Can you hear us?
Can you see us?
If so, leave a comment saying.
We got a whole bunch of ads going on. Sorry, that's us watching ourselves.
We are currently doing this on an iPad, sort of two iPads. We've got one iPad for the actual footage, and we see ourselves, so that's good. Do you have your volume down, right?
Booger's in the house now, it's down.
All right, Booger's in the house. And I assume that means you guys can hear us?
We'll see.
Somebody give us a thumbs up.
I mean, there's lots of thumbs up there.
All right,
Maybe.
cool.
We'll just go with it.
I feel like if they couldn't hear us, somebody be like, hey.
We can't hear you.
Dudes.
Yeah.
We can't hear you.
Yep. So, anyway, cheers. Come on. Passage drink.
Cheers, guys.
Made it to St. Thomas. Bree says it sounds good, so that's good.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we literally just got here yesterday after a 2-day passage, which went incredibly well. We had almost 20 knots of wind. 90% of the time it was blowing steady from the east and northeast. So we were kind of a little ahead of a beam reach for most of the time, but we were arcing up and following it. So it was almost a beam reach the whole way. We averaged 8.5 knots with a top speed of 14.1 knots.
14.3.
14.3, yeah. So it was a fast passage. We're sitting here in St. Thomas. It's been a rainy day. We wanted to do this outside, so we set it up that way, but if at some point we start scrambling and everything's moving around, we're just taking it inside. It might happen like
real soon.
Any minute now. So I see rain.
Yes. Do we want to just move?
Yeah, let's just move.
All right, hold on.
Yeah.
Sorry.
See if I can do this without losing anything. Because we're inside now. We're back.
All right, scene change.
Well, we gave it a shot.
Yeah.
Oh, you can see our nice reflective window covering up there.
So good. Okay.
Sometimes you got to improvise.
Yes.
All right. Well, I can't read anything small, so Lauren's going to have to read all the questions and relay them.
Yes. No questions so far. Just a bunch of hellos.
Okay.
Aloha.
We'll just keep it an update until we start getting questions. Trying to think where have we ended in our current videos.
We just had the boat dragging.
Oh, right. Yeah. The boat dragging and taking on water and all that stuff.
Not our boat.
Well, obviously that was fairly early in our stay in Grenada, and that stay is over. We're now in St. Thomas. Yeah, we'll give away a few things in this little chat here. I don't think we've mentioned where we're planning to go in the U.S. yet. We are going to go to Charleston, which is obviously our old digs where we lived for 5 years. Mm-hmm. We found a really cheap transient slip up the Cooper River in the Cooper River Marina.
Relatively cheap for Charleston.
Right. But it's really not bad. And we're going to be there for 3 months, probably, while we get a lot of things delivered. Lauren's dad and his friend John, our friend as well, are going to join us for the passage from St. Thomas to Charleston, and we're meeting them the day after Thanksgiving. Apparently that's a really cheap day to fly. Mm-hmm. So we're going to meet those guys, and then we're just going to be looking out for our best weather window to sail straight from here to Charleston.
Yeah.
We're figuring on anywhere from 7 to 10 days, just depending on wind and weather, and if we need to stop someplace and wait out any rough weather or anything like that, that could change things. But that's currently the plan.
Yeah, we do have some questions now.
Okay. What we got?
All right, so somebody asked if we had thought about Starlink system on our setup.
Yes, we have thought about it. We have thought about it so hard.
Yeah, we have finally kind of figured out our system with internet, and it has been working, and it works well enough. But from what we've heard, Starlink is like so far above it that I'm hesitant to change what we're doing that works, but also
I know.
I really want to.
Well, and it's not an all over solution either, because what we do now, we have a Skyroam Solus puck.
This is what it looks like.
And that's what we're transmitting through right now, so you can blame that if things. And that's basically just a worldwide hotspot. The thing works in it's a little bit like Google Fi. It works in 120, 130 countries or something like that.
Right.
And anywhere but the U.S., you can use a global package. You buy 6 months in advance, and it's $50 a month for unlimited internet. And it does 4G unlimited for, no, 4G is not unlimited, for 20 gigs. But then it just throttles you to 3G. And we found the 3G to work almost as good as the 4G. We upload videos, we stream TV, we do all that stuff on it. It's sometimes a little slow, sometimes it doesn't get a good signal. It's probably 90%. It's pretty solid. I mean, most places we can get it to work pretty well. But then we also have a Digicel, a French Digicel card from Martinique, which is the Primo Digicel card that we have, 70 gigs a month on that?
Yeah, but now that we're in St. Thomas, it doesn't work.
It doesn't work here.
So.
But that was how we had a mobile phone without having to carry that puck around. The thing with Starlink is, on the boat, from what we've heard from Jesse and Jen on Elation, our good friends, it is magnificent. Just incredible upload and download speeds. Rivers wants to say hi.
Here, I got you a drink. Do you want to?
He wants to read the comments.
Okay.
And they love
cheers.
it. They've got the RV version, and it works amazingly well everywhere, even at sea. You gotta look out. Look where your head is. But it doesn't give you anything to use on shore, so it's a little pricey. What was it? $140 a month.
Yeah.
And $600 for the package of the hardware and everything, which is not terrible, but we would still have to get some kind of SIM card. Probably stick with the Digicel or something else that we could use on shore.
Do you want this?
Long answer, yeah, we still really want it.
Yeah, it's probably just.
I don't know if it's in the cards.
Not this moment.
We're spending so much money on different things when we go to the States that it just might not be.
Yeah.
It might not be in the budget yet.
It is live, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's only a 2-second delay.
Rivers is questioning our system. We have 2 tablets, one right here, right here, and then one right here, so we can read the questions.
All right. Did we find anything scary or unexpected on the boat?
Yes. The scariest thing we found was that black water, which I don't know how much footage of that we showed.
We had a lot.
And it's still kind of mysterious.
Mm-hmm.
There was black water in a section of the bilge in the port side forward head that, now that we have sailed the boat a bit, I think it came from the aft end of the boat forward, and there might have been some fuel in there. I also wonder, I have to go into the port forward to fill the generator tank, and I always spill diesel because it's an impossible scenario to try and pour in there. And I think somehow that's worked its way in there, and then it ate a towel.
Yeah.
And turned a black towel into a horrible, stinky chemical mess. But it looked like turds at first, floating.
Yeah.
That towel, there's something about it. That was maybe the scariest thing. Other than that, no. I mean, functionally...
Right. It was in worse shape than we thought it was. So, in general, it was kind of more of a scary experience when we first got it.
Oh my God, what are we in for?
It wasn't...
Not like safety-wise.
Right. It was just kind of overwhelming in the moment.
And it still kind of is.
Yeah. Will you replace the big windows in Charleston? Well, at
That's
least...
the plan.
Yeah, get that process started, obviously.
Yeah, that's one of the big things that we want to be able to buy the material for in the U.S. It wasn't too terrible to buy that material in Grenada, but not great. And we'll be on a dock, which is a big deal, to be able to bring those sheets on board and cut them and get everything set up. I think that's going to be one of the things we'll want to take the time to get it done before we leave the dock.
Yeah.
A lot of things, we might not do a lot of projects while we're there because we're going to be driving back and forth to Ohio for the holidays and just to see family. We haven't done that in so long. I haven't done it in a really long time. And to receive things that we already ordered a bunch of stuff that is waiting for us. Some of it, Chris, Lauren's dad, is going to be bringing with him that we're going to install on the boat before we even set off. I'm going to give a little bit of a surprise away. We got some lithium batteries waiting for us. And that'll obviously be a big install and a big story about the kind of batteries we're using. And yeah, these will be probably one of the biggest projects we actually do at the dock.
Yeah.
Most of it is going to be buying stuff. Lighting fixtures, cloth. We're going to go find and buy tons of cloth, decide what we want the ceiling and wall textures to be everywhere. But we'll probably just buy rolls of it and stow it and then do it a little bit at a time as we're moving.
Right. So we keep our time up and we're not landlocked for too long.
The other big install while we're there will be a water maker. We're going to be working with Cruise RO to put a new water maker on the boat. So we're really excited about that, especially with Lauren's parents being here with us a lot of the time. That's 5 people and a dog. That's a lot of water. So we're planning to put a 40-gallon-per-hour AC water maker on board, and I can't wait. We're doing pretty well just going from the tanks, but it's not. It's not the same.
Did we have any surprises during the passage? Mostly how fast we did it.
That was probably the biggest surprise.
We kind of figured on averaging 6.5.
I got used to passages before with Cecilia. I got used to planning for 5 or 6. 5 knots would be my conservative number. 6 would be like my hopeful. Man, if we can average 6, then we can do it this fast. And so for this boat, I went up one. I went 6 and 7. Those were my 2 numbers, just like. And we averaged 8.5 knots.
Yeah. And I mean, the wind was obviously up.
Right.
We never turned on the motor.
It was very ideal.
It was a little bit of lumpy seas, but it wasn't. It wasn't too uncomfortable. I didn't feel real good, but I think.
The motion's different.
Yeah.
For sure.
Something I have to get used to.
I think we got used to it pretty well, and it was a lot of seas on the beam, right with the wind. So I would say 2 meters, which is what it was pretty much predicted.
Mm-hmm.
And being on the beam or a little ahead of the beam at 20 knots of wind, we were taking a lot of waves over the side of the boat and on top of the boat and in the cockpit. We got some pretty cool modifications that we're planning to do back there to make life way, way better on passage and at anchor. Would have been nice to have those on that passage because it was wet and windy and salty, and the hatches that leak when it's raining for 2 days straight definitely leak when they take a wave over top of them, around them. We've got at least 3 or 4 that need rebedded really bad.
Yeah, we definitely found those.
A lot of things got wet.
Yes.
No beds.
No, at least not our side.
Sorry, Chris and Mary. It was fine.
So when and where are you going to haul out the boat? So we actually just did that last week, which is why we didn't put out a video. Mm-hmm. We worked from Wednesday to Wednesday getting the boat ready for this passage. Since we hadn't hauled it out before, we really wanted to make sure it was seaworthy.
We did everything ourselves.
Yeah.
Because we wanted to
make
touch
sure.
all of it and go through every single thing.
Yeah. So-
Total boatyard blitz, man.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was.
We did that. So that was in Tyrrell Bay in Carriacou, which is crazy cheap for hauling out a boat.
Yeah.
It was.
That was part of our plan from the beginning, was to
Yeah.
get it hauled out there on the way out.
Yeah, we pushed it a little bit later than we thought we should, but it's fine.
Yeah.
We got here in time. But it was what, $600 for
Yeah.
the week?
600. It was 600 and it was almost $700, but that was haul out, splash, blocking, power washing, electric, and water for your entire week, including your days of staying in the yard. You get 6 days for free. So it's a deal that's really tough to beat anywhere that we've seen or heard about around the Caribbean. Really, really good, and really cool people, really nice folks there, man. The office, the ladies in the office, Courtney in particular, really, really nice and pleasant to deal with. And the guys in the yard, man, they work hard when they're hauling the boat. There's 6 guys controlling the boat. There's a guy diving to set your straps. They power wash it for like an hour. I mean, they do not miss a spot. So they're really, really good.
And they can haul out really big boats. I mean, we
Yeah.
saw what a 60-foot catamaran there.
Mhm.
I wouldn't say you could. That's probably the max. It's not like
Yeah,
a
it
huge.
was like that
boat,
much on either side.
But yeah, they definitely can do some big boats. So if you're looking for
It
haul
felt
outs,
it felt tight to me.
yeah.
Well, no,
We had
we're
a couple.
26 and a half feet wide, and there was what? Yeah, it was probably 3 feet on either side.
Yeah, it feels.
But that's, to me, that's pretty tight to slide that sucker into. But
Yeah. Hello, Doug. What happened to our folding bikes? So we actually ended up giving away our folding bikes in Grenada. Not this time.
2 years ago.
2 years ago. I think if we had had this boat when we had the folding bikes, we would still have them.
Mhm.
Thank you, Ray. Appreciate it.
Oh, that's really nice. Thank you.
They ended up sitting out on the rail and were getting pretty rusty, and we didn't use them as much as we thought we would. Just in some of the islands, they don't have the infrastructure for riding bikes. I mean, I'm sure it's fine, and the locals do it, and it's no big deal. But for us, coming from
Plus, 2 years ago, we were riding 2 adults and a kid in a seat on the bike. And most of these places, anywhere that it's decent to ride, it's a road and the traffic is crazy. So we just didn't ride them. And so then anytime we did, they were so rusted up, it would take me 15, 20 minutes just to get everything working again to ride them. And we had them in bags, but on that boat, there wasn't any place inside to stow them. So they just kind of got sprayed. And yeah, I think
it's definitely a possibility that we'll get
I
bikes
prefer
again, especially now that rivers.
electric scooters.
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe you get an electric scooter and I'll get a bike.
Yeah.
Let's see. What's the biggest difference between sailing a monohull and a cat? Oh, are we back? I hope so.
We're still there? Yeah.
Says we're there. Maybe
Well,
we should say it again. What's the biggest difference between sailing a monohull and a cat?
I would say sailing upwind, which is not a huge surprise. A lot about how you sail a cat isn't that much different than how we sailed Cecilia, because those hunters that era and forward all had the B&R rig with no backstays. So had very swept back spreaders. So downwind, we would sail it a lot like you would sail a cat. You sailed long, broad reaches as opposed to trying to sail straight downwind. And it's a faster way to sail if you're not afraid of jibing, which we weren't. Any boat, honestly. Dead downwind is always the slowest point to sail. If you can sail long, broad reaches, you're going to be faster and more comfortable because the boat's not going to be doing as much of this, and you get a little bit of heel, whatever. So downwind, cat is sort of the same thing. Upwind, what we figured out is when you're setting the sails on this boat or any big cat, it doesn't like to do much on main by itself. If you're beam or downwind, you can set the main, turn the motors off, and then get your jib out, whatever. But if you're headed upwind at all, you really need the jib working. It's gives it most of its strength and power. But that's not a real big deal. I think Other than that, sail trim is similar. We've been able to get about 50 degrees true sailing upwind and still have like good speed, good progress. We could pinch that and still move. And that's frankly not much lower than what we would sail on the monohull because just for comfort's sake. On Cecilia, we wouldn't sail too much closer to the wind than that, just because then you're just like pounding, you're heeling, you fall off a little bit and you've got a more comfortable sail. Yeah, you got to sail longer if you're tacking. So that hasn't changed much, but we have figured out that tacking on this boat, you got to go. You can't baby it across trying to like ease the jib over, or you get stuck. You just got to go. Otherwise, I don't know. We figured out on this boat, you can reef it down to the second reef, and it doesn't really slow it down.
Mm-hmm.
You got to sail by the numbers for a cat because you can't spill wind by heeling. So you got to be careful not to be overloading the rig, which we've never been close to that. We reef pretty conservatively. It gets up in the high teens, and generally we go ahead and put the first reef in. And like most lagoons, their first reef is recommended at like 22. So we're doing it way before then, and then not too long after that, we wind up putting the second reef in just to kind of calm the boat down, and we don't seem to lose speed. So, yeah, I not real huge differences other than that feel. You don't feel the boat heeling, and you can't respond to it in the same way. But with this boat, with the helm at the way back at the stern and low down close to the rudders, I think it's got decent feel. I don't know.
Yeah.
I talk a lot.
Agreed to both those points. The next question is Rivers getting a brother or sister? No. No, not through us. We've talked about adoption, but that's a very hard thing to do when you're living on a boat.
Yeah.
So that would probably be after boat life.
It's something that's been in our conversations a lot. And who knows where our travels will take us and what situations we might be in. But we would most definitely consider adopting an older child.
Right.
But yeah, explain it.
But no babies.
No babies.
I mean, he'll tell you that he's getting a brother, but
yeah,
who knows? Anyway, hard top and Bimini enclosures? Question mark.
Yeah, we've talked about that quite a bit, and again, with this boat, we have a pretty big list of things that we're upgrading and adding. So money is an object big time. Hardtops are awesome, but it's a pretty pricey thing to do, and it's something that most people can't just knock out on their own. And the more we've been on this boat, and you know how it is, like if you've never owned a Volkswagen and then you go buy one, suddenly you notice all the Volkswagens on the road. Well, now we start to notice all the boats that are kind of in this era, like the older Lagoon 47s and the Privileges and things like that. And we've been looking at how their cockpits are handled, and some do have hard tops, which again would be nice. But I think what we are going to try to do, what we hate about this one the most, is that it has a traditional Bimini with the bows, and they're just in the way. They're mounted right on the bench, literally on the back of the bench. And if those were out of the way, it would open up the area so much back there. So I want to build a little more sturdy, permanent fabric top out of stainless steel and fabric that covers a little more area, goes back a little farther, is a little wider. Then we can attach a dodger in the front, clears on the sides that can roll up and down. And then we have a plan to do huge shade flies off of the boom that both cover both sides, and then a triangular shape that covers the front. Part of that would be to help with these big sunroof windows up here, because it does get kind of hot.
obviously, since we have a car, whatever
Yeah, we
shade
have a car
sitting
shade
in
up
our
there. That's right
one.
over all of our charging station stuff.
Yeah.
Trying to keep batteries from getting hot.
Yeah.
So right now, that's our plan. We not having a hardtop's not really been a big deal on this boat, because when we go to set sail or pack up the sail or whatever, that's got that huge traveler on the back, so we can travel it all the way over to the side pad in the cockpit, and I can reach it just standing to zip it up and do whatever. And we also have just a little step ladder that sits perfectly up there, and it makes it really easy to reach everything. It's not a problem at all. Um, and it's kind of nice having that open sometimes for evenings and things like that. If you had a shade, you could roll down when you want it. So to be a little more frugal and to do it something that we can do it mostly ourselves, I think that's the route we're going to go for now. We're going to go with and I think I'm even going to try to reuse a bunch of the stainless that's in the Bimini to make a nice solid top with a new cloth cover that we plan to sew ourselves, and Dodger panels that we plan to sew. All of that we can do ourselves and save a whole lot of money and do it exactly how we want it. So that's the plan right now.
That's the plan. What are your thoughts on the 480 for a family of 5?
It'll do it. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's definitely enough room. We felt like we went from a studio apartment, maybe 1-bedroom apartment on Cecilia, to like a full apartment.
Yeah, a bigger apartment.
A bigger one. So no, we just like sit here and I feel like we're actually in a living room, and we actually have like a kitchen.
Yeah.
And so
we really like the galley down for full-time liveaboard. It's great. It's down. It's very spacious. It's down there where you can move around. We do not aspire to just leave dishes around all the time, but you don't want to clean every little thing every time just because it's sitting in front of your face. It's nice to have that all sort of separate. My office is also down in that hall. But yeah, family of 5, no problem whatsoever. The forward cabin, which we call the Hobbit hole, is a perfect room for 1 or 2 kids. That's going to be for us mostly a playroom and extra storage.
Yeah.
But otherwise, the bedrooms are
Thank you, Arthur.
Huge. Thank you. Yeah, the bedrooms are huge. You've got 4 bathrooms, 2 of which back here you could convert to extra space. We're probably going to take one of the bathrooms out eventually and make that the whole office bedroom sort of more officey. Mm-hmm. Yeah, very comfortable. I think that, again, the biggest things you got to address on these older boats is the comfort in the cockpit. So you got to do a few things, if it hasn't been done already, to make that a little more livable. And that's one thing that's a downside on the boat right now. Is too much rain and too much wind can get back in there, and we're going to take care of that. And again, from seeing other boats around that era, it's very doable with fabric, and or if you want to do a hard top, then that's obviously awesome.
Mm-hmm. How much solar do we have on board?
We only have 600 and what are those panels? I think 630. So it's like 210 per panel. Mm-hmm. And that's what came on the boat. And it's not very old. I think it's been installed sometime in the last 5 years. Ours tilts forward and back, which I didn't know what to expect with that. But so far, it's really been great. It puts out quite a bit, especially if you follow the sun with it, like once or twice a day. Just kind of tilt it so it's facing whichever direction the sun is in. We had 1,000 watts on Cecilia, and I feel like it's pretty equivalent just because we're able to tilt it. When we get our new batteries, we're going to be putting in 900 amp hours of lithium, and we're going to leave the solar alone for now because we do have the generator as another backup charging source. And so I want to see how it does with the solar as it is. Mm-hmm. But right now, it does just fine. Our battery bank on this boat is pretty wimpy, and I think it's on its way out. So it's hard for us to have any real definitive answer to that until we get good batteries on board.
Yep. Did you fix the refrigerator? Yes. Did. And the way we did that is we got all new refrigerator components.
Yeah.
And Eric installed it. We had a technician out for like a week straight, and it would feel like things were working, and then all of a sudden it would stop and it would go back down. And then we were looking up new fridges and how much it would cost, and it was actually more expensive to buy just the whole new fridge than to buy the fridge components.
Right. Well, and weirdly, of all things, in Grenada, refrigeration components are cheaper down there than they are in the States, and maybe it has something to do with the refrigerant and the legalities of whatever they, regulations, whatever.
Well, the stuff in it.
Yeah.
Not good for the environment.
And the guy who was working on it, super nice guy. His name's Tevin, young guy who's kind of struck out on his own, doing his own refrigeration business. But it was clear that he fixed it in a couple different ways, and I was kind of right there with him the whole time. It would work, and then it would sort of taper off and then be not working again in just a couple days, no matter what he seemed to do. And it was clear he was getting kind of stumped. And I was just afraid that our fees were going to get to the point where, it was just too much money for labor when we could just be buying new components. And we would still wonder when the next thing was going to go bad. So for about $1,200 US, I was able to buy all new stuff, whole new compressor, condenser, the controller, and then a whole new evaporator. Because if you go ahead and buy the new ones, they're plug and play, the refrigeration is already in them, you don't have to charge it, you don't have to do anything. And now we have a bunch of parts that we plan to use in the freezer, probably.
Right.
The freezer is ginormous. It's way too big. It goes from the countertop all the way to the floor, and it's like 36 inches wide. It's crazy. You can't even reach the bottom of it. So my plan is to bring the floor of that up and make a nice, short, more reasonable sized freezer, and then figure out which of those components are still okay, put them together, and have a freezer on that side. But the fridge has worked perfectly ever since then. It's been great. And what we did was, this boat has two. It's got the front loader on the outboard side and the top loader on the inboard. We really wanted to use that outside one.
Thanks, Doug. Sorry.
Thanks, man. Oh, wow. Thank you so much, man. And that one is a really nice fridge. It was just skanky and dirty and really messed up. And so it took a long time just to get it cleaned up and ready to go. But now that it's working, it's great. I'm going to put a light in it.
Yeah. Be able to see what we're grabbing. But
That's why we're going to the U.S.
It's just
you can get a refrigerator light on Amazon really cheap.
For like $5.
Yeah.
All right, for me, is visibility from the Helm station workable for you? I would say the visibility is about as good as it was on Cecilia. I did hope that when we got a cat, I would be able to see better, and that just wasn't in the cards. But it's workable. I can see. I can move around and pretty much get to everything. And I can't really see the one corner, but hopefully, like that's just the Helm on this boat.
Yeah, big boats, we've figured out most of them are not friendly to short people. Mm-hmm. And some aren't that friendly to tall people as far as what you can see. So a dream scenario for somebody who's 5'2", 5'3" is really a like a lagoon Helm station up on the top, flybridge kind of deal, where you can literally look down and see the whole boat all the way around. And that's why people love those flybridges, because not just for her, but for anybody, you can just see so well. Mm-hmm. This boat, it's more like driving a monohull. Mm-hmm. You're back in the corner. It feels a lot like a monohull. It's got the big wheel, and you're looking down the side of the boat. But yeah, you can't really see that port bow very well at all. And especially the way our boat's set up right now with this Bimini, it's curved like this across the back bow, and that puts a corner of fabric like right across my eyes. You got to duck way down to see under it, and then you're not at the right angle, or you got to stand up on the seat and look over it to see that far corner. So that's another reason why that really needs to be remade into a different shape, a flatter, more rectangular shape. and that'll solve most of the vision problems for me. It won't help you a ton.
No, but at least for right now, we both can't see at the same time.
That's why it takes a team.
Yeah.
You just go up on the port bow and you yell at me when we are in any kind of scenario where we need to know what's going on over there, which we have been, and so far it's been great. Docking the boat's been not really an issue at all.
Yeah. So yeah, that kind of goes into, doesn't it bother you that the helm is in the open?
Yeah, a little bit. Yes and no. I think there's some cool things about it. You feel more attached to the boat, being back there in that corner where you can see right down the side of the boat. You can see the sails perfectly. You can see the sterns. It is a better sensation for driving the boat, for sure. But then when the squall comes, it's not as nice of a sensation. Yeah, you're right out there in the open, lots of rain pelting you in the face and all that. And we had that on the way to Carriacou from Grenada. Got pelted by squalls the whole way, and I just got wet. We arrived, and I was still pretty happy. I mean, it's a fun boat to sail, and I think that can't be said for all cats.
Right.
So you're trading a little more fun sailing experience for kind of rough conditions if it gets nasty out. Again, one more time, back to the whole Bimini setup. The way we plan to do it will definitely provide a lot more protection for the driver, because you'll be able to stand a little more inboard and be pretty much underneath the Bimini and protected by a clear on the outside. So that's another reason we want to do that, not just to keep the whole cockpit more dry and livable, but it'll definitely help for the helmsman. If it's really rough, you can sort of step inside and steer without getting pelted in the face with rain.
Right. How kick-ass is the sound system on our? Not as kick-ass as
Not
we
very
would like.
kick-ass.
Right now we're just...
When I get out my speakers and do
Yeah.
a boat concert, it's pretty kick-ass, which we did.
Right now we just have a bunch of like Bluetooth speakers.
We
but
have
eventually maybe we'll...
I will say though, for Bluetooth speakers, our Bluetooth speaker is pretty
That's
kick-ass.
very
We got it at Walmart in Puerto Rico,
Rico.
and we just recently discovered that it lights up.
Not his River's favorite thing. He
It's
likes
got
to
a
have
little
dance
button,
parties.
you turn it on, and the thing does like disco lights that pulse to the music.
Yeah.
And it's pretty cool. We sit it down in the corner of the cockpit, and it like absorbs all the bass. It really like sounds good. Other than that, there is a nice Fusion stereo on here with 2 Fusion speakers in the back that are currently not connected properly, and I just haven't had time to like get in there. I don't think there's anything wrong with them, and they will be a pretty nice setup when we get it put together. Inside, we figured out on Cecilia that we didn't really need a sound system inside very much. Generally, if you're rocking out, you're outside doing it.
We're annoying all the neighbors.
Yeah. If you're inside, you're watching TV, or maybe you're listening to music while doing dishes or something like that, and then we would just use our sound bars Bluetooth. So we plan to do something similar on this boat, get a little bit better TV setup with a nice speaker that will be more than enough for this salon area.
Yeah.
But if we really need to rock out, we just get out my powered speakers
And then it's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
We've got some videos coming up with that.
Yeah.
Eric did some boat concerts in Grenada.
Yep.
So
It was a good time.
that was fun. If money was no object, what would you buy?
Woo!
That's a hard one. We've gone kind of back and forth because what was the boat that we saw in Grenada? It was like a Leopard 50, the new one?
Oh, right at the yacht club.
At the
there.
yacht club. And
Yeah, it was
we
a
looked
Leopard
up
50.
That one, and we thought that was
Beautiful,
really nice.
Beautiful boat.
But then we've also seen like privileged 65s.
Like
That's probably too big, but like...
In like the 2000s era, like the mid 2000s, late 2000s, 2008, 2009.
And with also having actually sailed this boat and really liking pretty much almost everything about this boat except for the beds, I would be really hard pressed to veer away from the privilege and maybe just get a newer one.
And they sail well.
And they sail well.
Yeah, but
And
so does the Leopard. Leopards sail well too.
Right. So I think right now those would be my top. A Leopard 50 and a privilege.
Yeah,
what,
the whole money, absolutely
54?
no object though. I don't know. Those HHs are pretty sweet.
Yeah, we've never actually like been on any of the
It's tough
true
when you haven't been on them.
performance
Yeah.
sailboats.
Yeah, one of the bigger HHs would be pretty cool, I bet.
Yeah.
But again, it's a loaded question because there's a beautiful kinetic. What size was that boat? 53 or something? It was pretty big.
Which one?
That was sitting behind Elation.
Yeah.
In La Faire Bleu.
Mm-hmm.
Cool boat, and they're more the cruisery version of gunboat, I guess. But not very cruisery. It was a fast looking boat. But apparently they've had all kinds of problems with it. It's brand new, and they're literally going to have to take it back to the dealer in Europe. I don't remember where exactly they had to take it. But they had so many problems, and I've heard so much of that about new boats that even if we had unlimited money, I just don't know if I would buy a new boat. I guess if you had unlimited money, you could get it paid. You still got to get stuff fixed, though. You still got to deal with it.
Yeah.
No. I don't know. I digress. Let us ponder that, and we'll get back to
We'll get back to you. Let's see. Can you... Oh, wait.
Do you need my reading glasses?
No. In the early days. Oh, in the early days, we would say what our drinks were. Can we do that more often, especially with the mixed ones? Yes, we'll try and
Yeah,
do
we
that
did more drink recipes, didn't we, on the screen?
Yeah. This is a gin and tonic. There is gin and tonic.
Same here.
When we get into knocking things, it does get hard in where we are, depending on like what is available to us. So usually we end up just drinking juice and rum because usually that is available.
Passion fruit is the most common thing that we put with our rum, and we drink. Well, in Grenada, we drank a bunch of the Westerhall, like number 3 and number 5.
Mm-hmm.
And then Appleton Estates makes what used to be Appleton Estates now makes something called Kingston 62, which we discovered here.
Yeah.
And we can get that in a couple different countries. That one's really good. Again, these are pretty cheap rums. We're not too hard to please. I buy like a little more expensive rum to sip on ice sometimes. But yeah, we don't get real fancy with our drinks generally.
No, maybe we'll try and do a fancy drink every once in a while.
Yeah, maybe we'll make that like a thing once in a while.
Maybe.
Fancy drink day.
Fancy, it's like fancy dress day.
Yeah.
All right. Did either of you notice you had more hair falling out than usual when you owned 2 boats at the same time? Yes.
Yeah, you can't tell with me so much. Yeah.
I don't know if there was more hair falling out, but there was definitely less fun times.
Yeah, that was... and don't get me wrong, I understand, like, we'll get comments from some people who are like, oh, why don't you smile more? You guys just complain all the time during especially those videos where we had both boats, and I get that. Like, everybody has complaints about what's going on in their life, and so you guys get to see ours up front. But we try to keep ourselves pretty upbeat about things, and most of the time, boat projects don't actually get us down, even when our poop explodes everywhere or whatever might be the case.
That was pretty sad. I don't know what you're talking about.
We were laughing about it.
Yeah, no, I know. It was still funny, but it sucked.
So all that in mind, yeah, we were kind of in a bad state of mind during some of that because, and it wasn't just having 2 boats, it was just that the deals for both boats got very complicated and very annoying and irritating in numerous ways, and we will probably make a video where we talk about how the deals went down, especially the purchase of this boat and why that made me go extra gray in just a couple months. Yeah, I'm not going to get into it too much now. We'll have to sit down and really think it through and present it to everybody because it wasn't a great experience. Logistically, it was awesome because we were able to get everything done in that small amount of time and rip off that Band-Aid, but it felt like a million Band-Aids the size of your arm, basically.
Yeah. Tattoos in the eyeballs.
Oh.
All right, did we have Marriage Savers, the radio headsets? We don't. We did at one point have
I was like,
walkie-talkies. We go to marriage counseling. No, we did at one point have walkie-talkies that we used, but they weren't real
You
reliable.
can't hear. We still have them. They just don't.
They don't work
Yeah.
real well. I can't say we wouldn't get it, but we're pretty good at hand signals. And
Yeah.
I'm really good at yelling if I really need to.
Which is rare though. It's really rare.
It is mostly rare.
The only thing on this boat that we found ourselves having a vibrant discussion while anchoring, which we don't generally do. Like, we're pretty good at, we've got our system down, and again, she gives me the hand signals for how much chain is out, and you know, I know kind of how to control the boat for
Thank
her
you,
and
Pontoon
everything.
Rob.
All
I like
right.
that name.
That's great. We didn't know how much chain we were putting out, and that sounds silly, but we bought this boat in the water, and the chain is marked with twist ties, with zip ties.
And there didn't seem to be any
No idea.
logic to
We
where
thought
the
we
zip ties were.
thought we detected a bit of a, like, oh, maybe they're over 25 feet. Oh yeah, maybe not. Maybe 50 feet. We could not figure it out. Like, there'd be one zip tie, then there'd be 3, then it'd be 7, and then it'd be back to like 5. And so there was one time anchoring in Prickly Bay where we just didn't know how much chain we had out, and she said she saw, like, we tried to put markers in of our own a couple places, but we did it all wrong, and so
We were in the water when we did it, so like, how are we supposed to?
and so
measure?
I literally, like, walked up to the deck. I'm like, look, we never yell at each other on the bow of the boat while we're anchoring, and this is what we're doing right now. And then
was
we
like-
didn't anymore.
No, it was funny.
Yeah,
We stopped and then we yelled at each other in the boat.
we marked our chain.
We marked our chain, and
In the
that's
boatyard.
not happened anymore.
Yeah, so we're all good now.
Have we thought about a camera for the front port? Not really. I don't know. That seems really
Oh, you mean to be able to
complicated.
see?
I mean, I'm sure it would be awesome and lovely, but
I think there's a
That's-
difference between if you own a boat that you keep at a dock regularly,
yeah, we don't go into the docks
and we just
very much.
don't. You know, we're mostly out at anchor unless we're getting fuel, and then
And then it's just somebody up at the front going,
Yeah.
"Oh, you've got 10 feet."
right. And if the conditions and situation is such that we dock on the starboard side, it's super easy because I can see everything perfectly.
Yeah.
So we just don't, we just don't really feel a need for it. Maybe if we brought this boat in and out of the dock every week, we might want something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not a gearhead at all when it comes to systems on the boat. I want things as simple as possible. I want them to work really well, and I want everything to function and be comfortable. But I don't want any kind of display that I don't need. I don't want any wires running to anything that aren't absolutely necessary, because it just means that they're going to fail at some point.
Yes. All right, this one's for you. Are you aware that when you get to Ohio, there is a gaggle of gals that plan on kidnapping your wife for 1 or 2 or possibly 12 ladies' nights?
Yes,
That's from Bree. So
I'm absolutely aware, and I could have guessed that. I
Yes.
would have said Bree or Karen.
yes.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yes.
And
I'll
that's
be there.
that's totally fine. Yeah.
He's on board. Let's see.
And hi, Bree.
Hi, Bree. Where's Rivers? Rivers is down below. That's from Dad. He said hi earlier. Maybe you should have been on.
Oh,
Just kidding. Love you, Dad. Yeah, he'll come say hi soon. Is Rivers playing with a remote control car? We haven't gotten his remote control car out lately. Should
no.
probably
He's got a
do
remote
that.
control boat that he plays more often. That one hadn't been out real recently.
Yeah.
But yeah, Uncle Todd and Aunt Jenny got him that, and Uncle
Yeah.
Mike and Aunt Tammy. It's a nice one.
Yeah. How does Rivers stay entertained on long passages? My kids would go mental trap for long periods. Do you have any homeschool education options you recommend? We kind of let him have his tablet. I mean, I know it's pretty bad. We've got a bunch of books that he uses.
We don't let him do it like without any kind of direction. I mean, there's
No, but I mean,
certain
there's
limits of things we'll let him have.
Yeah, we have a hard drive full of movies. He can watch movies anytime. He has tablets that he has games. He's been really into puzzles lately, so we're trying to stock up on the puzzles, especially for this next long passage.
Mm-hmm.
Just basically a bunch of toys. He does really like to go out and look around.
Yeah, he's
and
getting
see.
now that he's getting a little older. He likes to come out and you know, he will come get me and say, I want to go to the bow.
Yeah.
And I'll say, here's my life jacket, and he'll put it on, and we'll go look around on the bow, look at the water. You know, we sat on the corner out here a couple times for a long time, just like watching waves, watching the foam on the sterns, you know.
Yeah.
He's definitely getting much more interested in the boat and the boat sailing and, you know, being aware of where we are and what we're doing,
Right.
which is really, really cool.
Yeah. I think most people, you just kind of do what you have to do. We had heard...
He's a reader, too.
Yeah.
Big time.
One of the families that crossed the Pacific that we had talked to, one of their friends, and they said their kids were so sad when they actually made it to, like, French Polynesia, because then they would have to start limiting their movie watching time, because
Right.
they just watched movies all the time.
Yeah.
Basically, if you can keep somebody safe and...
Yeah. Entertained.
Yeah, we did a little bit of schoolwork, but he didn't feel real good inside doing any kind of writing, so.
Yeah, first day. And then on a 2-day passage like that, right about the time everybody's like feeling gung-ho, you're done.
You're done. Yeah, so we'll see how this next 10-day passage comes. As for homeschool, we've just got workbooks. I would show you them, but they are currently propping up our laptop, our iPad.
Oh, hey, were your ears burning?
Grandpa wanted to say hi.
I'm talking about you.
that's it. Hey, what kind of schoolwork are you doing? Do you know?
Lately.
Oh my
Excuse me.
gosh,
You just
go
spelled on
away.
screen. Oh my.
Go away.
I said excuse me.
Oh, he said excuse
That
me.
makes it okay.
So we have some like workbooks mostly that we got from like Walmart. He's only in first grade, so we haven't been doing anything really structured. I know
Oh, hi,
there's
you want to be
a
a part of it too? Come here.
Zeke,
Come here.
getting so.
Everybody's
Oh
here.
my gosh. Yeah, there's a couple like online academies. If you go to, there's a Facebook page called Kids for Sale, and they have a bunch of information for homeschooling options and that stuff, and that's what we're going to look into kind of next year. But for right now, the workbooks that we're doing
Yeah.
Said that.
have.
Boys
And-
are the best.
That's great.
And luckily, Rivers love to read. He really loves to read, and I won't say he taught himself to read. Lauren was working with him quite a bit, but he found some books he really, really loved.
Calvin.
Yeah,
And
well,
hobbies.
yeah, it was Dogman, and then also Cat Kid. They're sort of graphic novels for kids, and his reading just went nuts. He picked up his reading so much in about a year, and you're way past your age level. So it's really nice. Sometimes on the tablet we'll be like, well, you can have your tablet, but you gotta just read. And so he uses his Nona's library card, and we download books that way, and he reads books, I don't know, a third of the time he's on there.
Yeah.
Okay, get your big face out.
Tell me if there's any
More for you.
Anything more about you? Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, typers thing.
Just lots of nice comments.
Yeah, well, thank you guys. I'll read them when I've got my glasses on.
Just keep talking and I'll... Oh, wait. When you're out cruising, what is the median age of other cruisers? Are there 50-somethings just starting out, or do you need to be young? I would say, actually, it is more 50s and older. We tend to find all the other kids' boats, which tend to be on the younger side. So 30s, 40s, 50s.
There's everything.
But then there's really young people that don't have kids and want to do this for a couple years before they start, and then there's the
Folks in their 60s and 70s that
the retirement
retired and just started doing it. Yeah.
And it's really easy to kind of find those people. Everybody's looking for friends here, and that's one of the big things with being on the sailboat is the community and being able to just kind of it doesn't what am I trying to say? It's not hard to find somebody that you like and then just like hold on real tight, because everybody's trying to do that. Everybody's trying to find the
It's not
people
just
that
the
they're going to
kids.
hang out with. Yeah.
Yeah, we've commented before about how boat kids and Rivers the same way. they just learn to make friends like that. Like,
Mhm.
oh, it's a kid. Doesn't matter if they're 4 years older, a couple years younger, whatever. They get together and instantly, hey, let's go do something. And they maybe don't even speak the same language, and they
Right.
still can go play. But the adults are pretty much the same way.
Right.
And a lot of the time, it's the kid boat thing that sort of drives the initial contact. Oh, you got kids? We got kids. Let's get our kids together so they can play. And then you're like, oh, hey, the adults are pretty cool too. And turns out we like the whole family. And Grenada is one of those places where you really see it because everybody's there for a few months. Nobody's coming in for a couple of weeks and then leaving. Everybody's sitting in place, getting to know each other.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really cool because then at that point you sort of like figure out where your route is and who's going with you and who's going where. And oh, you guys are going to be there in a couple months. Well, we're going here first, but then we'll see you. We're on several WhatsApp groups of boats going in different directions just to keep track of everybody and know who we're going to see when and where. And yeah, like again, like she said, like our age group is our age and younger than me generally, but parents, and then we meet a ton of people that are older as well. There's just and really young. We've met some who are super young that are in their 20s and out doing it. So yeah, there's no age that's not appropriate, frankly.
Yeah. Ocean Cruises, hello.
Hey.
He asked where are we going to take this beast? So first we're going to Charleston, and then we're going to do Bahamas. For next season, for hurricane season, we're looking at South America.
Mm-hmm. It's not in stone.
It's not in stone. Everything is pretty.
Not South America, Central America.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
Everything is kind of up in the air, but we've got a lot of friends going to Guatemala. I keep wanting to call it Guadalupe because that's what we've been talking about for. That's
you call it Guadalupe and I call it Nicaragua.
Yeah, so
it's Guatemala.
We're hoping we'll get to Guatemala and Belize and Mexico.
Honduras.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the.
So if we do that, then it'll basically be about mid-March is when we have the dock rented through, and we'll probably go from there to the Abacos, just because we want to go back, and I think that would be a good. I don't know this for sure, but I think Lauren's parents, I would assume, will probably come and sail with us some there. Good place for us to be in case any of the new stuff we've got on the boat has any issues. We can always hop right back over to the States to solve those issues. And then, I don't know, we might make our way down to Key West just because we've, never sailed there before. We've been there. And then Key West to Mexico and then on down to Central America.
Yeah.
Beyond that, still don't really know.
Yeah. You guys said you were going to get a cat by shared ownership. What percentage did you end up with? And sorry if this is too personal. Nothing's too personal right now.
Lauren's parents are in the boat for a fourth. Now, frankly, they were the reason we were able to finance the portion that we did through an equity line through their home on land. But yeah, the percentage that we have it divvied up at is 1/4, and that's why they get 1/4 of the boat. They get a whole cabin up here that is going to be ready and waiting for them anytime they care to join us wherever we happen to be, and also makes a great guest room for when they're not here. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So we're, we there's been so much going on in the last few months. We've been putting a ton of money into the boat and buying a lot of these new systems and stuff. So, yeah, we got to figure out our payment plan and all that. But that's essentially how it's breaking down.
Yeah. Is there much crime out where you're sailing? Do you lock everything when you go on shore?
Nope.
Yeah, there is one site that will track the crimes against boaters.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember what it's called, Crime Watch or something. It's really, really not very much.
No.
There's been a couple of attacks in St. Lucia lately. There's 3 or 4 in the past couple months. But other than that, it's all been this dinghy was stolen and this dinghy was stolen. But
it's always the dinghies.
It's always the dinghies. There's been a couple, like, people have boarded boats when people aren't there, but in the grand...
Or they are.
Or they are.
Sneak
and just,
on
like,
to steal
underneath.
stuff, and then they leave as soon as the people wake up.
But in the grand scheme of how many boats there are and how many places those things
really
are happening,
small.
it's very, very small. We, like I said in the last video, we leave, like, the keys in the boat because it's more likely that something's going to happen to your boat and one of your cruiser neighbors will save the boat than somebody's going to board the boat and take things.
Steal it.
You know, that's not to say that you shouldn't lock your stuff up just in case it's your home, but we've not felt any kind of
And I mean,
fear.
not that we 100% know what all of our friends are doing, but I don't know of anybody that does lock up. I'm sure some do, but yeah, it's just not the norm. Now, we do lock up our dinghy, and we always put our dinghy up at night to a couple feet above the water, just so nobody can easily cut the cables. That it's crimes of opportunity like that, and it's always like the dinghies because those motors are so valuable. So we have our motor locked to the dinghy with a big cable, and we always lift it up on the stern just enough that you can't just clip it and take off. And then we also will lock it at some dinghy docks. It depends on where we are. There are some areas where you very clearly just don't have to worry about it. Others, we're like, yeah, let's lock up here. It's probably a good idea.
Yeah. So there's always crime of opportunity. Yeah, as long as we're aware.
Yep.
Has Rivers tried fishing on Passage? He has, as much as we have, and we are not good.
Well, and now we have kind of a new challenge, sort of. You know, we were never great fishermen on the stern anyway. I mean, we had our moments. We've caught some fish for sure, but knowing like what speed you're supposed to be at to troll with some of these lures and stuff, and then like this last passage, we were doing 9 and 10 knots for so much of it.
Yeah, we were
And I'm like, I'm not throwing a lure in. Like, what am I going to do? Like,
we can't slow the
it's
boat
so
down
hard to slow the
like
boat
bring
down.
it in.
I don't know how people do it.
Yeah.
Like, maybe we're just wussies about it. Maybe
Probably.
you just got to do it. You just got to haul the fish in at 9 knots and like not be a pansy about it.
Huh.
Rivers is pretty good at fishing while we're at anchor, though.
Yeah.
He's got the best record of catching fish at anchor, I think.
Thanks, Average Joe.
Thanks, bud.
Thoughts about propane. Right now, it's a necessary evil. I would love to have an all-electric kitchen, but that just takes...
So much battery.
Yeah, and we don't have the battery.
Battery, and if you get that
For
much
the
battery,
moment.
then you got the solar.
Right. I think eventually, if we keep this boat for long enough, that will be something in the cards, but not for 3-4 years, probably.
Propane really does last pretty long. We've got 2 big tanks, and we're new to this boat, and this boat uses more propane because the stove burns hotter. But I think we're still at about a month and a half a tank, something like that.
Yeah.
And it's not that expensive, so it's one more thing you got to deal with, but it's really not a huge hassle usually.
Right. Have we figured out how to tackle the drooping headliners? We've not tackled them yet, but we have ideas.
They're simple. There's nothing really to them. They're a piece of stiff board, which I think they're just some kind of wood composite probably, with the vinyl fabric wrapped and glued to them. Not glued so much anymore. So they're super simple to either remake or just recover. Like here in the salon, I think all these panels are fine. We just need to recover them and re-glue them. And then they just pop back up. They've got these little plastic things that pop into holes, some of which need to be redone. We had a panel fall down in the office in there while we were on passage. So yeah, I mean, I guess we have figured it out. We haven't done anything about it yet. Most of the areas, it's not too bad. We're very eager to... Whoa, that's a truck, if you heard that.
Probably not.
Yeah, we're very eager to get a lot of these panels re-glued and recovered, but we're going to get all new fabric for that, so we're not even touching them until we figure out what we want to put up. And I'm sure it's not going to be anything crazy, but we've seen a few boats like this where they use a different kind of fabric for like one wall in different areas. It's just kind of an accent, and it looked really nice. So we're hoping to find something like that.
Mm-hmm. What do we want for Christmas to go back to Ohio? So we're getting that. We're spending Christmas with family, so I'm very excited.
Yeah.
Like, we've got everything else, and we'll get the boat all set up. That's what I want for Christmas.
That's what I want for Christmas, yeah. I want to go snowboarding.
Yeah.
I want to take river snowboarding.
Yeah.
It might just be in Ohio, which is fine because he'll be just starting. So that's all I want for Christmas is do a little bit of snowboarding and take these two.
Yeah. Plans to go back to the BVI's again?
Plans, no.
We would love to.
But yeah,
that's one of our
intentions,
favorite spots.
love
we
it.
would definitely go back. It's just.
I wish we weren't rushed right now and we could go over and hang out there for a few weeks. Yeah, I love it over there. I love Yost so much, but right now, not in the near future, unfortunately.
Yeah, we gotta get moving.
Yeah.
What are the plans for the rear cabin where I saw Eric's recording rig? Office with some soundproofing. Is the bed going to stay?
The bed's definitely going to stay, just because of how the hull is built back there. There's nothing under that. There's the motors under that and the fuel tank. So you can't do anything with that space. Is what I'm saying. It's best just leave that as a bed, and then we've got another spare bed. Didn't really need to do any soundproofing or any sound treatment in there other than just a little bit of cloth on both doors, because the way this boat's constructed, it's really, really quiet in the hulls, and it's because of those panels with the fabric on them. That's kind of how you soundproof a studio is you wrap panels in fabric and then you place them around the room. And so on a boat like this, it's kind of already done for you. It sounds great down there. I didn't have to do anything. I've got that hood that I use for my mic, and that's technically a travel hood. I can take it anywhere, but it sits really nicely on that shelf where I've got it. What I would like to do in the future is remove the bathroom, because there's a bathroom on the inside and it takes up a lot of space. And for us and our family, even when Lauren's parents are here, we don't need 4 bathrooms. It's nice having 3. 3 is actually a really good number when you've got a big boat like this and you got a lot of people. But that 4th one, not necessary. Right now it's just storage.
Mm-hmm.
But I would like to take that out, leave like an archway to like walk through, make the floor continuous into it, and then put a desk in there that you can actually slide under and get your legs under. You can put a chair in that can go back and forth. Then I would open up the spot where my recording hood is right now to just be a shelf, and it's got like a couple drawers under it and things like that. I just think it would make a very nice kind of office / spare bed that you could actually then get in and out of the bed without any problem, because my chair and stuff wouldn't be right there blocking it. So it's not an immediate need because that studio is working out really well. It sounds great, and it's not great for a spare bed because it's tough to get in and out of it, but that's not been a need for us very much at all yet. So it's on the list, but it's a little far down there. I think once we start to get the rest of the boat looking good, then I'll be like, yeah, let's knock a wall out of here and make this into a little office space. I think that would really complete the boat.
Yeah. AC that's quiet for a recording studio in the future?
I don't know if that's possible.
There's any possibility.
I really don't think it's possible.
We do have AC in that hall, and we'll turn it on to cool the boat down, and then we have to turn it off for him to work.
Yeah. And it's an older unit. We have it. There's one unit in the port hall and one in the starboard. Starboard side just needs a new pump and probably recharged. But the port one works great. But and even the brand new one we put in Cecilia is still kind of loud. It's not loud for just normal living, but it has to be so quiet when you're recording an audiobook particularly that there's just no way. Even if it ran off of battery power, the unit would have to be, I don't know where it would have to be, all the way forward or something, and then it wouldn't disperse the air very well. Yeah, I don't think it's a possibility, to be quite honest. I think the best that we can do is cool the boat down. If it's like a really hot day, just cool the boat down for an hour, work for a little while. You know, we do pretty well. We've gotten pretty used to hotter conditions. Down in the halls, I think it stays a little cooler. Back in the corners, it stays a little cooler. Yeah, so we've been making it work. It's been fun.
Okay. I had one. Do you have working laundry machine and water maker on this boat? No to both of those, sadly. The water maker is in the works. Probably get it when we're in the U.S. I would love a washer machine, and that is also definitely being talked about, but it's not as planned of a timeline.
I think it's doable, again, in the Hobbit hole, the little middle cabin we have up here. There's a perfect spot where a washing machine could sit, where in some models they have like a sink right there. There's already an outlet. It'd be pretty easy to, to plumb a drain hose down into one of the through hulls.
It's just we've got a lot of other things, and we lived on Cecilia without a washer. And
if we do one
out,
now,
I would much rather have one.
If we do one now, it'll probably be one of the simpler versions, kind of like an apartment washer like you buy on Amazon, as opposed to like a Splendid, like made for boats, which are pretty pricey. But one of those would be nice, and we wouldn't have to change much to like upgrade to that in the future. So yeah, if we can get one of those, I think we might just they're pretty cheap, I think, on Amazon, aren't they? Yeah. Like they're like plastic.
We'll have to look into it.
But it's a great spot for one, so we'll try to make that happen.
Are you glad you changed your plan and went for an older cat to do up and relieved the financial strain? For sure. I mean, we just wouldn't have been able.
It wouldn't work for us
to do anything else. It was literally either this or we were done sailing.
Probably gonna quit. Yeah.
So I'm happy that we did this, and we've got the boat, and we are very, very comfortable on it, and we do very much like it, and it does have the space.
Yeah, and to anybody who's not that familiar with us, just to kind of clarify, the biggest reason that we switched to the cat was my work situation and what that caused for these guys. Because on the monohull, I had a nice studio set up back there, but it's basically a studio apartment. You're all in the same space. And so anytime I was working, I needed very, very quiet conditions, and that meant that they had to be holed away in the forward berth. They couldn't do anything. They couldn't be in the cockpit. They couldn't be out in the cabin, or I would hear them. Rivers, he's 6. Obviously, he's going to make some noise, and it really, really sucked for these guys to have to do that for hours at a time. Sometimes they could get to shore to do things. It just doesn't always work, though. So it was just a kind of miserable situation after a while. We dealt with it for a long time, but we knew we couldn't do it for much longer. Just unhappy situation. And so with a cat, we knew that we'd be able to separate the space a whole lot more. I'm down in a corner. I can truly shut the door. These guys can hang out in the salon, out in the cockpit, up on deck, out on the front, and actually, hold conversations. And Rivers doesn't have to be completely quiet. He just can't yell.
or run on that side.
Yeah, it's the stomping, yeah. And so that alleviated that one huge sort of soul-sucking problem that we had on a monohull. It was specific to us.
Yeah.
It's not they couldn't hack living on a monohull. No, that's not it at all. It was a very particular problem for us. And we do like some of the other benefits that we're getting from being on a cat, living-wise, but that was the main thing. We probably would have been done otherwise. And yeah, I think it turned out to be a good decision anyway. We were able to get a very big boat, a very spacious boat, and a boat that sails well, and it just needs our touches. It needs our work and our elbow grease and our love to bring it back to its former glory. And frankly, on the outside after our boatyard trip, oh my gosh, it's a huge difference already with the stuff we did to it. And it's just going to get better. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with going in that direction. I can understand why newer boats have the allure that they do because boat designers have figured out a lot to do with comfort on a catamaran for living aboard. But they've also steered really heavily toward chartering, which isn't always 100% in line with living aboard and what you would want and how you'd want the space divided and set up. And frankly, older boats did a little bit better job of catering to just like normal families.
And sailing.
And sailing.
Fast.
Yeah, and being a better sailing boat. So yeah, I think so far it's turned. We think it's been a good decision, and the more stuff we do to it, and the more things we fix, and the more things we pretty up, the more we like it. We've definitely gotten attached to the boat.
Yeah. We seem to be Caribbean based. Are there any plans to go further, i.e. the Pacific, or do you plan to just do the Caribbean forever? We definitely plan on going further. We would love to do Pacific, but it's not as soon. Mostly we want to do an Atlantic crossing. We would like to go do the Med and Europe and the Azores and that side. Mostly because once you do the Panama Canal and you cross the Pacific, you're very
committed
there.
We have a dog, for one thing, that makes that kind of difficult.
Yeah, it's very hard to get into New Zealand and Australia, and especially French Polynesia and
in rivers is only
the Galapagos.
6.
You can't do that at all.
No. Rivers being the age he is, we both really would like him to be just older so that he gets more out of the experience. If we do that like big step of like going across the Pacific and seeing, I want to do it and see that side of the world. Like, we want that to be something that he absorbs and really, really remembers for the rest of his life. And if he's a few years older, he's going to be a lot more helpful too on those big long passages. And Zeke's 9 years old right now, so I don't like to talk about that, but in the future, there might be a little simpler going when it comes to all those not pet friendly areas, which I think kind of sucks.
Yeah, and our plan, we never planned on being in the Caribbean this long.
No. Actually, we would have been on our way across to South America had we not decided that we had to make this change right now. That was our next step.
Yeah.
So right now, I think, we're planning to go to the Western Caribbean and see Central America, but I don't know. I don't want to put anything out there when we don't know exactly, but sometime in the next 2 or 3 years, 2 or 3 seasons, I do think we'll probably go for the Atlantic crossing.
Yeah.
And then you can always kind of circle around and come right back over to the Caribbean and then hop across to Colombia and then go on to Panama. That's not a bad route to do. I think we're going to really enjoy the Med, though. And, a lot of those countries look like our cup of tea for sure.
Yes.
And frankly, I feel like we've got a good boat to do it now.
Yeah.
It's going to be a good passage boat. We just got to get it a little drier.
Any meet and greets when we're in Ohio? Probably.
Yeah.
We just haven't actually
had time to think about it, but
we'll
we've
definitely
talked
do
about
some.
it.
We'll probably do one in Charleston too, since we'll be kind of in both of those places. So we'll let everybody know for sure.
Yeah.
Just talk.
I think are we winding down?
We're winding down.
What time are we?
Which is good. We're at 78 minutes. You talk a lot.
I talk a lot. I'm sorry.
Is it easier to start small and work your way up to a bigger boat with limited income? That's a hard one. Because unless...
With limited income, for sure, I think.
To start small? I mean, start where you can, but it's hard to kind of make money when living on a boat.
It depends on what you're talking about. If you're talking about sailing and just enjoying sailing, then definitely go get a small boat. Almost anywhere you live, there's sailing someplace. Almost. Someplace within reach. And for us in Ohio, it's 25-foot boats on a small lake, and it's still one of our favorite things to do. I can't wait. I mean, I guess we won't get to do any sailing there, but I can't wait to just hang out with the sailing folks.
Right.
It's the small boats teach you how a boat works without the fear of that can be induced with a big ass boat. And so, working your way up, if you just want to learn to sail and kind of get into the whole thing, that's definitely the way to go. And then when it comes to living aboard and cruising, depending on what your family situation is, if you're a big family, that there's some kind of bigger requirements. But for a couple, man, you can do a lot on a 35-foot boat, and it doesn't have to be a new boat. I mean, Layla would have been a great cruising boat for us as just a couple.
And that was the first boat that we started on for all the people that are new. So
On
that
the
was
channel.
on the channel. That was a Hunter 35 Legend.
35.5 technically, yeah.
Right. So we did some long passages on that.
And that was a boat.
Fine.
That was a $40,000 boat when we bought that boat. So
It was a 94.
Yeah.
We bought it in 2016.
Right.
So.
And it's a great boat. So there are boats that you can get into in a variety of price ranges. But if you just want to see if you like sailing, yeah, go sail some small boats or go charter. Like find somebody who does know some sailing. Maybe work out something where you go charter with them first. Go take some lessons. Like you can have a pretty awesome vacation going and taking the ASA sailing courses 101, 103, and 104 in a variety of locations around the world where you live on a boat for a week and you learn all of this stuff. You take your tests and you pass these courses, and then you're certified to go charter a boat. You don't have to have that to charter a boat, but it does help, and it does help your confidence a ton. And if it's just something you just want to find out if you like it, that's the best way to learn. You're not under any pressure to be the person running the boat by yourself. You got somebody there that's teaching you everything you need to know about it, and you're learning with maybe your friends or maybe a couple strangers. I did it a long time ago, and I would recommend it to anybody that's even thinking about getting into this lifestyle, because it'll give you a really good taste of it, and it'll teach you a lot.
How far have we actually traveled?
I don't know.
That's so hard.
We haven't tallied up our miles, so we've got little pins on our map over there.
We're gonna do that. We started, we'll say Georgia to Florida to the Bahamas.
This was 450 miles about, from Grenada straight to here.
And we've done that
3 times now.
3 times. Plus probably another, 400.
And you got to add some miles back and forth on the curve. We've gone all the way around Puerto Rico. And then it's from Florida to St. Thomas, it's about 1,200 miles, I think.
Okay.
And so we meandered through the Bahamas down to USVI. I don't know, a few thousand? Easy.
Yeah. We're going to do, for sure, like a full...
We'll try to figure that out.
A full equation. But it's a lot. I think it's enough for a sparrow tattoo. Or what's it? Not sparrow.
A pig in it.
No, the
Pig
one
and a
that you
chicken?
get for traveling. What is it? 20,000.
Oh, is that what that is?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's not a sparrow though. What is it? Oh well, doesn't matter. What does LE stand
The
for?
fox said.
Yep. Okay. What does LE stand for in the 46 LE? That is limited edition.
Limited edition. Yeah,
They just put letters on things to make it
well, Hunter
next.
Hunter made the 460 first, and that was that boat essentially. And then they made upgrades and changes, and that was the 466. And then the last version they made was the LE, and they only made those for 2 model years and not that many of them. And they made more interior changes mostly. So
yeah.
My tablet needs charging.
Okay. his
We're almost
tablet
done.
I'll
needs
turn it all the way
charging.
down.
Thank you. That would be good. Do we watch any other sailing videos? We try to.
Sometimes. We have channels we really, really like. We don't always get to watch those channels.
Yeah.
I really like, and we watch channels who we really like, respect their craft of making videos. That's kind of what I watch for. I love Atticus. I think they make really beautiful videos, and they're really good at telling a story. The Winds, again, their quality. The Winds, their quality of videos are just so far above. And it's just, obviously we watch some Delos. We sometimes will go back and watch some La Vagabond. I don't know if they're editing their own videos anymore, but yeah, the quality is crazy high.
Yeah.
So it's nice to go look at some of these guys and, you know, aspire to make our videos a little bit better and pick up a couple of tricks here and there, camera angles and fun things they did. And, you know, by doing that, it makes us try a little harder to make things interesting sometimes. That's what we watch for, I think.
Yeah. Did you have, was anyone, sorry, did you have different seasicknesses from mono to cat? Luckily, we've all seemed to be pretty immune to seasickness. Rivers will get it when he's on his tablet too much. I didn't feel good on this passage, but I think I might have just had a little bit of sickness, like just been sick before we left. We'd been in the boatyard for the week before, and just, so
Yeah.
You've
been land bound for a week and it kind of messed with you.
Yeah, so I'm not sure. It was definitely,
We
it
were
was a weird.
we both had sailed for a long time before living on a boat. So I think we both got pretty immune to it.
Uh-oh.
Oh, we're getting close. Yeah. I have often felt sick, but not gotten seasick. I've never puked or anything like that, and you haven't either.
Yeah.
And I think just because we've raised him on boats, he's kind of getting the same sort of tolerance for it. So
It's a swallow.
a swallow.
There
okay.
we go. Thank
All right.
you, Pontoon Rob.
So we've been pretty lucky with that. I did notice a difference in the motion, and it made me feel a little funky at first, but I got over it pretty quick,
Yeah.
and it just took you a little bit longer.
All right, well, we've got to get off of here because we're down
Our
to
tablets
10%,
are dying.
and I'm really sorry if we didn't get to your questions.
We really tried to catch up with everybody. We'll go through
Yeah.
these. Did these stay up?
I don't believe they do.
Ah,
I know, I hate
okay.
that. If you have any other questions, feel free to email us. I know
Mhm.
somebody was asking.
You can always go on this video and drop a comment too, and we'll respond to that as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
It's different than when you're commenting while it's live. If you go look at it after it's up, you can comment and we'll respond.
We are planning on updating our intro with Ophelia. We just don't
Yes.
have a drone at the moment.
Yeah,
So it's
part of
been
it's
hard.
a drone that we're working on that, and part of it's just having we're starting to build up some good Ophelia footage now that we can plug in there. So
Rivers, are you happy with the trampoline?
Yeah.
Yeah. He gave it
he
2
does
thumbs
love that trampoline and the bean bags. He does a flying. What was the dude flying Jimmy Snuka? Superfly Jimmy Snuka off the no.
No, I don't know.
He was an old wrestler.
All right.
Off of the life raft and onto the beanbag in the trampoline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, y'all. Before we
Thank you guys. Yeah, we really appreciate you tuning in, and we hope we've answered some questions. We'll have a regular video out next week.
Maybe we'll be on passage, so
We'll do it before then. We'll get it up, one way or the other. We're about to take off here and go on our longest passage ever. So we'll try to keep as much documentation of that as we can and show you all about it.
Yeah.
Thanks again for watching, everybody, for watching our channel. We just really appreciate the
Yeah.
support. It's really awesome knowing that people are out there paying attention and care that what we're doing. That's pretty wild to us sometimes.
I know.
And you folks that dropped us some donations, really appreciate that. It's
Thank
going
you.
a long way right now.
Yeah.
It's definitely going to be helpful with all the stuff we're doing on the boat. So
Yeah.
thank you from the bottom of our heart. We really appreciate it. All right.
Good night.
Good night. Cheers one more time.
Cheers. Happy holidays.
Happy
and,
holidays. Happy Thanksgiving if you're in the
yeah.
U.S.
We're
All
just
the
gonna
good
keep
things.
talking until it
Until it
dies.
dies. All right. Bye, y'all.
Rivers, pop your head up.
There he is. I don't know how to stop it.
I don't know either.
Did I just hit the X?
I hit the X.